Hello guys, what's going on? Welcome back to my videos. And today guys, the skill level of every Akuma in Shindo Life. Now I'm going to be ranking every single skill level of every Akuma from 1 to 10. So be sure to watch the entire video and hope to see you next one guys. Remember to like button, subscribe. Alright, so we start off with the original Akuma. The original Akuma is going to be a solid 7 out of 10. Now the reason for this is because I feel like Akuma, it doesn't really do anything special. So you do have to have a knowledge of how to use the bloodline somewhat, which is why it's going to be at a 7 out of 10. But it is also quite easy to use, which is why it's not higher up. Now it's going to be easy to use in my opinion because the second ability, not the second ability, the first ability is pretty much just a worse Bankai stun. It pretty much does the exact same thing as Bankai stun. Third ability is an auto tracking Senbon that does a bit of damage. Second ability, as you guys saw, is actually one of the best auto dodges in the game because it doesn't teleport you back. And the C spec, it takes no aim required whatsoever, and it does 90k damage immediately. So yeah, the Akuma is actually very good, very broken as a very common bloodline, quote unquote. But yeah guys, it's gonna be at a 7 out of 10. The next one's gonna be Bankai. Bankai is gonna be at a 5 out of 10. Now the reason why Bankai is going to be at 5 out of 10 and not actually higher or lower is because I feel like it's a very average skill required bloodline. You don't need that much skill required to actually be able to use some of the moves like the third one, second one, and the first one. So they all are actually auto tracking, pretty much no aim required, and they're actually very easy to use overall. So when it comes to those, there's not really that much skill needed to use them, but the auto dodge is where a lot of the skill comes in because you can use abilities during it. So if you can balance your chi in and out of that, that actually is quite good. And knowing when to use a C spec is actually a very skill required thing as well. So if you actually have a bit of skill, you can actually turn Bankai into an unstoppable bloodline. But if you're not very skilled at the game, it actually is very usable anyways. Now next is going to be Shivakuma. Shivakuma is going to be actually at a 6 out of 10. Now I feel like Shivakuma is one of the easier Akumas in the game to use, but not for PvP. It actually is one of the easier ones for getting away from PvP, but not for PvP. When it comes to PvP, you actually have to know how to balance your chi cost because using all these abilities will actually drain your chi like crazy. So you have to know how to balance your chi cost. You have to know how to combo. You have to know how to time your counter well, and you have to know pretty much how to do a lot of things. Now, one of the coolest parts of Shivakuma is the C spec, but you actually have to know when and when not to use the C spec in PvP. So it actually is a very skill intensive. Akuma, but when it comes to like not PvP, it's not skill intensive at all. And next is gonna be Ryan Akuma. Ryan Akuma is gonna actually be a 9 out of 10. I feel like Ryan Akuma is actually one of the most skill based Akumas in the game. If you are actually amazing at the game, if you are absolutely stunning, you know, OP, dummy OP, especially after the Ryan buff, Ryan Akuma will be the best Akuma in the game for you because it's all about timing. Third ability is an iframe block breaker, and if you know how to aim. Oh wait, that did more damage than I thought it did. That just did like, you know, like I think that did like 90k damage. I think they buffed that. It actually did more damage than it used to. It's a high damage block breaker. As long as you know how to aim or time the iframe, it actually is quite good. C spec is also another iframe that drains mode. Weapon spec is the exact same thing. Another iframe that drains mode, and you have another iframe, which is the first ability. So if you know how to time your iframes, you know how to time things well, you know how to avoid fights and things like that. Overall, Ryan Akuma will actually be a very good Akuma for you, but it actually is very skill intensive. Now next is going to be Satori Akuma. Satori Akuma is going to be coming at a 7 out of 10. Now the reason for this is because Satori Akuma is actually quite hard to use in a lot of different cases, but third ability is not hard to use at all. You pretty much aim at someone who hit pretty much everyone in front of you in a cone. It actually does a lot of damage to them and is actually a really easy to hit stun, which is the ability that most people use. When it comes to Satori, the weapon spec is also very good. It actually does a ton of damage. You guys see like 60k straight up. The most skill part of a Satori is actually using the second and the first ability and timing them correctly. Now, having 2 iframes in your kit can actually be a major bonus. People really underestimate, you know, have the global cooldown. With the global cooldown, if you actually use an iframe, as you guys can see, if the cooldown of the first one is low, you can easily go back and forth between the iframes. So I just used that one, and now I use this one, and the global cooldown does not trigger more. So when it comes to that, 2 iframes together is actually very busted, and the C spec is actually quite good as well. You get a massive speed boost and you can attack during it and stuff. Overall, Satori is just, if you're good at the game, it'll be really good for you. Next is going to be everyone's favorite or not favorite, Riser Akuma. Now Riser Akuma is going to be coming at a solid 5 out of 10, just like Bankai. Now when it comes to Riser, I feel like Riser does take a bit of skill, like I said, for Bankai, but some of the abilities are also no skill required. Like the auto dodge is one of the single best iframes in the game because it has this ability at the end that actually stuns them and does 60k damage. I know that's insane. That's a lot of damage, and if you can actually dash during it to break their block. You can use C specs. C specs is the same as Bankai's, but the most skill part of Riser is actually going to be the third ability, which if you know how to use the third ability correctly, it can actually do a lot of damage, and it could actually really carry you in fights. So if you know how to use the third ability, it actually is quite good even after the nerfs. Second ability pretty much is the same thing as Bankai's second, but it stuns for less time and teleports you to them. Alright, so next up is going to be Shindaikuma. Shindaikuma is going to be getting a 2 out of 10. I know the Shindaikuma mains are going to be molding in the comments below, but I'm going to show you how to play Shindaikuma even after the nerfs. This is how you play Shindaikuma, guys. Use spam. I'm spamming right now, literally just spamming. I'm actually just spamming. Literally just spamming. That's how you play Shindais. It takes no skill to use Shindai, even after the nerfs to Shindai, but before the nerfs to Shindai, it would have had a 0 out of 10. It would genuinely be a 0 out of 10, but as it is right now, it's going to be a 2 out of 10 to 3 out of 10. Last but not least is going to be Sriracha Akuma. Now, Sriracha Akuma, this is actually the gold version because everyone loves P, is going to be getting a rating of 7 out of 10. Now, the reason for this is going to be because Sriracha actually has a bunch of instantaneous abilities. So if you know how to use the abilities correctly, if you know how to use instant abilities and stuff like that, Sriracha will be one of your favorite bloodlines. Now, I do recommend combining the bloodline with other things to make it the fullest potential, but Sriracha is going to be at a 7 out of 10 because the abilities, if you're actually really good at the game, Sriracha, just like Ryan Akuma, will be one of the best bloodlines in the game. But that is only if you're really good. If you're not really good at the game, I would recommend staying away from Sriracha, simply because, you know, it's not a very easy to use bloodline. Anyways, guys, if you guys enjoyed this video, remember to like, subscribe, more, and guys. Bye-bye.